Gold FM, Speak Your Mind with your host, Edwin Nand. Today we'll be talking to representatives from the Ministry of Women. A lot of interesting things going on, a lot of interesting developments. In studio with us, we have Luce Ngerengeretambua, Research Officer with the Ministry of Women, as well as Inoke Mbani Marama, Events Coordinator and currently working with the Women's Ministry to organize the National Women's Award, I understand, as well as the Rural Women's Designer Award. We'll be talking more about that later on. Let's start things off with Inoke. Big things happening. The Women's Awards have been quite a success in getting a lot of women to step up and become productive. What can we look forward to this year?
Thanks, Edwin. It's going to be an exciting week. It's from the 6th to the 8th of August this year. This actually is the first National Women's Expo, and maybe Lucy can talk through the rationale and the objectives behind the event. But I can tell you that across the week, we are expecting about more than 3,000 women from all around Fiji to gather in Suva. It's the first time women are coming together, particularly in this size and number, to come and talk about issues that are of concern to them. But it's also going to be an opportunity to really show and tell, to display. It's an opportunity for them to network with each other as well. And more importantly, to share information. And we're also using the opportunity to build capacity. Lucy can talk about the work that the Ministry of Women have been doing in terms of their corporate objectives and their program design. So this is one of the key events in that overall 12 to 24 months plan in terms of the activities that the Ministry of Women continue to do in the community. And not just here in the urban area, but more so the outreach programs that they're doing in the rural areas. So more than 3,000 women coming together for 1 week's worth of programs and activities. We'll talk through what the detailed event will look like in terms of workshops that we're running. We're also going to invite them. They're actually preparing as we speak. They're going to be bringing in handicraft that are unique to the places that they're representing, the provinces that they're coming from, to come and show. And we're also going to be opening this up to the public. So it's going to be held at the Vodafone Arena, I should have mentioned. And that's the 1 week, 6th to the 8th of August.
Lucy, looking at the overall picture, getting these women to come forward, everything that's being organized, what's the overall intent in this?
Yeah, just as briefly was mentioned by Inoke, the intention here is for our women to come in and really tell us about their success stories and really just showcase their skills in terms of, handcrafts and all these things that women are very well known in doing, coming up with their, the development in their home crafts. And this is the opportunity that we believe is going to be really a draw card for all the women in Fiji, a one-time event where they will come together in their groups. One thing I want to specify here is that our women who are coming into this expo are really the members of the women groups that has registered within the department, and currently at this time about 1,600 women groups have registered within the department. And so the members of these women groups coming from all the 4 divisions throughout the country, and that's a northern, eastern, central, and western, will be coming in for this 3-day event at the Vodafone Arena. Yes.
Looking at building up to this week-long event, the ministry, I understand, has been going out quite a bit, speaking to these women in their communities and getting them to get involved in their own their own stuff. What are some of the things that the ministry has been promoting?
Well, thank you. I think I wish to go back as far as there are a lot of activities that has been happening over the years, but particularly in 2013, we exposed the women to a couple of trainings, particularly on crafts training, craft skills training, where there were special team experts that came particularly from Indonesia to take these women through on coconut crafts, wood carvings, bamboo crafts, and even eggshells craft. So those were some of the trainings that we took them through last year in preparing them for this big event. And so this idea about the expo was first mooted by the Madam Minister in 2013, when she saw the great turnout of women in our Rural Women's Day, which is normally our annual event that takes place every October. And so based on that, the success stories that came out from that event, the Rural Women's Day in Koroi Volu in Nandi, She then, mooted this idea for this national, international event for the women to come forward and really showcase what they can do, because I believe in many ways we know that women are agents of change, but then sometimes we are not provided that opportunities, that empowerment that we need to raise these women's status so that they can contribute economically to their families. Yes.
If I can also add there, Edwin, the unique thing about this event is that the women that are coming through are already part of programs organized by the Ministry of Women. More importantly, if you the concern around just consistency, the criteria, if you like, or condition, because women actually have to fill out registration forms, so they work with their, what are they called, your program officers in the different communities who are out there. They are really our marketing people on the ground.
Exactly.
So they're talking to the field officers, So they're talking to all the organized women's groups who already have a program happening with the ministry, and then they are signing them on. To be able to participate, there's a criteria. I mean, you have to be part of an organized group. It's just not going to be those 3 days and that's it. There's also going to be, because this is going to be an annual thing, when we close off on the 8th, there's also going to be then plans immediately after that to look at then what the follow-up will be. I talked about capacity building. I mean, one of the things that we're trying to do in the event is, because the women are going to be bringing in their handicrafts, we also want to look at opportunities for export. I, in a similar role, was involved in the Trade Pacifica event, and it kind of has the same feel to it as well. So we've got these women who have been trained and they've got these new skills. They're using things that are available to them locally. We're trying to look at then how do they take that, how do they develop that into some form or way of generating more income for themselves and for their families. So, I mean, that's one of the many outputs, if you like, of the trade show. But to respond to your question around how the marketing is happening, we've got these field officers on the ground who, in their business as usual activities every week, mobilizing and recruiting participants for the program. Like I said, our target's 3,000. We may go beyond 3,000. If I can mention at this stage that we're grateful for the partnerships of the various community groups, even within Suva. It's one of the biggest challenges is then you bring all these women in, where do you actually accommodate them? So to date, I can confirm that we've approached different church groups who will give us like their community halls, schools, where we can accommodate the women during those 3 days. And the response has been really, really good. Very
On
good.
that note, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more discussions. This is Speak Your Mind, Gold FM. Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. We're talking about the National Women's Expo and Rural Women's Designer of the Year Awards. In studio, Lucy Ngeringeretambua and Inoke Mbanimarama. Inoke, before the break, you were talking about how there's going to be 3,000 or more women converging into Suva for a week of events. How does one manage the logistics of this?
I mentioned earlier on that we have got a lot of support. We've received a lot of support from the community groups that are based there as much as possible. Like anyone would can figure out, there is obviously going to be an operational expense behind the event, particularly with the size and the number that we're looking at. And we're grateful that our partnership with the Fiji Sports Council, we're able to use the Vodafone Arena. What we've creatively done is, and the Ministry of Women through their program design, they've also incorporated 2 other track events, if you like. So you've got this National Expo that's taking place over the 3 days. And then we have 2, we've called them track events. There is a Women and Children Summit that's been also organized. And there's also what they've called a Maramani Vusa Summit that will also take place. So all these 3 things are running parallel. But to answer your question, the support we've received to date is from within the ministry, so the allocated funding. But we still also, there's a call out for commercial support, both in cash and in kind. So what we've done is in the design of the program, we've approached various potential sponsors or supporters to come on board to help us execute the different tracks in the event. If I can just very briefly talk through what the 3 days will look like. For each of the days, there are specific themes that are related to the expo and the overall theme. On day one, the theme is really, we'll focus on child protection and family life. On day two, we're looking at social entrepreneurship. And then on day three, we're looking at gender-based violence. Of course, these are themes that are important, particularly to the target audience that we're bringing in, that more than 3,000 women. Across the 3 days, as I mentioned, we've got this expo that'll be open from 9 to 5 every day, and that's open to the public. And then, as I mentioned, we've got these 2 track events. The Women in Children Summit, that's also going to begin at 9 a.m. on day 1, and will run across day 2 and day 3. And then we have this Maramani Vusa Summit that also takes place across the 3 days.
That's
On the
sorry, yes, go, continue.
what we've also done is for each of the because the expo will be open to the public during the lunch hours, we've organized what we've called lunch hour sessions, and this will be open to the public as well. On day 1, we're looking at the Constitution as a topic, and we'll have a speaker or a team panel who will speak on this topic. We're also in the process of firming up what the lunch hours topic will be for both day 2 and day 3, the 7th and the 8th of August. In the evenings as well, we've inserted networking events. So on day 1, which is the 6th of August, we've got the Rural Fashion Show, and that's been organized by a separate team. On day 2, the 7th of August, in the evening from 6 to 8, we've titled it a Provincial Fun Night. So because we're going to have all these women from the different provinces, we're still looking at the design of how that fun night will happen. But you can picture about 3,000 women all together at the Vodafone Arena having just their own fun night.
Yeah.
Of course, all the challenges and all the fun around just who's representing what province, and this fun you can spin around that.
Great fun.
And then on day 3 in the evening, which is the last day, that's Friday the 8th, we also have a networking event there, and that will kind of be the culmination and the closing event on the night of Friday 8th August.
I'm interested in these track events that you mentioned. The topics that are being brought up, Luce, the discussions that are likely to be held sound quite interesting. It's not just about fashion show as people would have thought, or an awards night. There's actually something more going on behind the scenes.
Yes, thank you, Edwin. Yeah, with these 2 events, one event is actually looking at the Women and Children, which is called the Women and Children Summit. It's the opportunity to bring in all our community leaders within this zero tolerance, violence-free community that has been declared. And these gatekeepers, most of them are gatekeepers. They are community leaders, and as well, they will be coming in to participate in this summit. And so the idea here is to really raise their knowledge and their awareness on the Constitution, and also on the key decrees that has been passed over the years, particularly the domestic violence decrees. So the Legal Aid Commission will be assisting us here in taking them through this training. So it's really a time for them to come in as community leaders and be aware of their roles, the strategic roles that they play in eliminating violence in their communities, and for them to look at ways in which they can strengthen existing strategies and then map their way forward on, making sure that these communities are sustainable in terms of eliminating violence. And the other track event is really on the Maramani Vusa, as Inoke mentioned. This is really just to bring in our women leaders, our Maramani Vusa, our traditional leaders, because we acknowledge that these leaders, these women, play a very vital role in the community in raising the bar in terms of allowing women to participate in every decision-making levels. And so this is an opportunity where we raise their awareness and make them realize what role they play. And so when they go back into the communities, they would be able to play that more empowerment roles and be that agent that women can rely on as they see their leaders are there, nudging them on and saying, you're doing a good job. And so the Itoke Affairs, they are the ones who are really assisting us here, and we are thankful to them on their cooperation, and they'll be assisting us also in terms of some of funding of these events. Yes.
I understand these sort of programs have also been going on at a community level. Field officers have been, all the relevant authorities have been actually going from village to village, promoting these as well as better childcare. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, that is very true. This is an ongoing program by the department, not only the Ministry of Women, but also social welfare. We're working together here. As you see, it's not only the men and women, but we're also bringing in a community facilitators who are looking after the programs on the protection of children. And this is an opportunity for the community facilitators to be enhanced again in terms of their understanding, because they will be going out, carrying out their workshops and training and in the community and reminding them of how to look after our children, how to take care of them. There are a lot of child abuse happening throughout our country, and this is a time when they will come in and strengthen that the relationship, not only with the in terms of the ideas and the skills, but also network with each other on how they can bounce off information and help each other in sort of moving forward, in the communities.
And how does that relate to the male role or traditional role of men in rural settings?
Yes, well, that is good that you bring that on, because for us in the ministry, many a times a lot of people sort of there's some misunderstanding, thinking this is just women trying to do their own thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because really we are with the training on the violence, women and children summit. This is where the men also are participating, community leaders involving men and women. So this is a great opportunity and arena where both men and women are coming together to work together and assist in making sure that our communities are violence-free. Yes.
Can I also add that, and I should have touched on this when we we're looking at representation, that because we have the two-track events, and there's the traditional leaders or the Maramani Avusa Summit. The participation as well will also target an equal representation of not just the Itoke women, but also women from the other groups. So there is a target as well that we're looking at in terms of representation. And the idea behind the interactions as well across the 3 days is that there's some, if you like, cultural exchanges as well between what works in the, say, the Indo-Fijian community in terms of working with children, and also even in around community leadership, and the same as well with the other groups as well that we're targeting. So it's not specifically when we say urban women or rural women, there's also a quota of the representation of women from the different, if you like, groups from these different areas or categories.
Well, we'll take another quick break. When we come back, we'll have more discussions on the National Women's Expo and Rural Women's Designer Awards. This is Gold FM Speak Your Mind. Gold FM Speak Your Mind. In studio with us are Lucy Ngereng Tambua and Inokembaili Murama from the Ministry of Women. Now, the National Expo, the main event that we've been talking about, how much work is involved in putting this together, and what sort of money are we looking at?
The event coordination, which is really my role, is broken up into work blocks. So we have one main committee that's chaired by the permanent secretary, and we have the Director of Women, who's involved on a hands-on basis, basically oversees the running of the steering committee. In our operations structure, we have a team that's just looking after the program design and planning. I work with the team that's looking after sponsorship and partnership, also marketing and promotions, because that's going to be important. We've spoken to a few media partners who are going to come on board to help us promote the event or provide coverage as well across the 3 days. We have a team looking at our communications and publicity. Then the big piece is really around logistics, so travel, accommodation, and then the actual execution of the program on the 3 days. All up, approximately, we're looking at about a budget of about it's currently sitting at about 800,000. In terms of the whole event, the 3 days, the accommodation, the travel for the women. Of course, we're targeting about more than 3,000 women, but that's the working budget. We're looking at creative ways of setting this. There are, of course, like I mentioned earlier on, we're looking at bringing on sponsors and partners. There is a funding allocation from the ministry as well. for the 2-track programs that we have organized, both the Children and Women Summit and the Maramani Vusa Summit. There's an allocation that's already being allocated for the execution of these 2-track events and workshops. So that kind of takes care of that piece. But across the whole event, we are also looking at potential partners in terms of local transfers, buses. We're going to be talking to, in fact, we're talking to some shipping operators to bring in women from these areas. If not in kind, then maybe in part, so that we're able to bring in the 3,000 women that we are targeting. And then the whole logistics around catering, that's another piece we need to look at. So there's quite, operationally, there's like an event of this size, the cost that we are incurring, and we're looking at creative ways of mobilizing support.
Are you seeing a lot of support? Are people stepping up, wanting to be a part of this? I mean, it's a noble cause, you have to say.
I think in the times that we're in, one has to be creative and trying to solicit support. I guess at the end of the day, it's about what the partners get in return. So what's their return on investment? If anything, like I said, this is the first ever. This is not going to be the last one. There's going to be things that will continue after this. While we focused on the 3 days, the ROI for this will be really would be from this one until the next one, if you like. There is also, again, social obligations. Like we said, there's giving women opportunities as well to kind of better their lives. And you and I would know that, Edwin, when we better the lives of our women, of course, we better our own lives as well. So there is support. We still need more support. If there are people that are out there that can come in and help in whatever way or form, I mean, we welcome the support. There's again the internally looking at partnerships with other line ministries who can come on board. So we're looking at talking to other, like the Ministry of Health, because they have a major, the women's sector or segment is part of their target group as well. We're looking at trade and investment as well because of the potential of export. And then there are the other NGOs who do work with the women's groups as well, who can potentially come on board and be a part of certain events on the program. But that's how we're creatively looking at presenting the event, if you like.
I understand. Yeah. Lucy, what sort of reactions have you seen from women on the ground, the women's groups, and women who actually are coming or want to come to this event? What's going through their minds right now?
There's just so much excitement. Everybody's just ready to come, and they're asking us, how are we going to get there? Are you going to be providing transport and accommodation? Which we are excited to also, let every woman out there know that the accommodation and transport will be provided for them. So yes, there's so much excitement, and we noticed that with the number of women we've been registering with our women in our different field offices. So the result has really been, quite good. So we are looking forward, and we know that comes, when we near the time, there'll be a lot more women who want to come in, and I'm sure we will bust that 3,000. We'll go more than that 3,000 because this is a special event ever. We've never done this before. Like Inoki mentioned, it's one first time national event, because normally in the past years we normally celebrate these two events, one event in March and the other one in October, with an International Women's Day in March, and also the celebration in the Rural Women's Day in October. But this has been put together to really just bring out this national event. So it's going to be a great time for the women to come in. They know that it's a time, like he mentioned, when the provinces will come together and there'll be great things going. Yes, so it's really exciting.
If I can also add as well that I think from the highest level in terms of driving the event and leadership, this is really at the heart of the Madam Minister's program. So at all the speaking engagements she's involved in, she always talks about this upcoming National Women's Expo. And although she's not with us fully in terms of the execution, she's across all the details of the program.
Very much.
And she drives it, again, like I said, from the highest level. So that's also very good in terms of just mobilizing support. So she's interacting on a daily basis at government level or ministerial level. She's also looking at other ways that other potential partners can come in and assist with this. So from the highest level, we've got the support from her. Again, in a nutshell, this is really her baby. And then she's got her heart, mind, and soul into it as well. So and she's across everything that we're doing. So the pressure's on us as well to be able to kind of mobilize the support. It's August. We're just a few months away from it. So we're working night and day to make sure that we meet the target group and that we get the required support for the execution of the event.
Now, one of the interesting points that was made earlier is what happens after the expo, the possibilities of these women securing buyers or markets for their products. Are you are specific people being invited, businesses or exporters, to come and have a look at the products?
In the program design across the 3 days, particularly for the expo, we've put together a visitation program, and we are going to strategically invite potential buyers and potential buyers to the event. We're also going to bring in the business community, and they will be taken on a guided tour of the expo, and it will be led by the minister herself and other senior officers. We're also going to be bringing in representatives from the non-government organization groups who provide support and funding. We're looking at the development agencies as well.
Embassies.
We're inviting the embassies to come in. So in terms of the presentation of the expo, while it's open to the public, we're actually scheduling a visitation program. And these will be scheduled across the 3 days. And the people that we invite are also going to be invited because of the potential partnerships beyond the 3 days. So that's also in the program design and in the planning phase for
All right,
the
and
expo.
with that, it's time for another break. We'll be right back. Call FM Speak Your Mind. We're talking about the National Women's Expo and Rural Women's Designer Awards. We're pretty much coming to the end of the program today, but still more discussions to be had. The women who want to be part of this expo, who have now heard what's going on and didn't know about it, or didn't know where to go, what can they do to become a part of this expo?
We're going to encourage all women out there who want to participate in this to really come on board and sign up. You, of course, can pick up forms at any of the Department of Women offices. In the West, it's at Koronumbu House in Ba, also in Lotoka at the ground floor of the Magistrates Complex, in Nandi at Koroi Volu Road, and in Rakiraki at the ground floor of Vaileka House. You can find the Department of Women there. And in Singatoka, it's the ground floor of the Magistrates Complex in Lawanga, and in Tavua at Vaita Street. Here in the Central Division, there's the office in Osori on River Road. In Navua at Ro Matinitombo House at Korovo Road, there's the department also has an office there. In the Northern Division in Savu Savu on the main road, you can visit the Department of Women's office there at the ground floor in Lambasa of Namuka House. And then also at the Naulumoto complex at Nambawalu. Of course, women in the Northern Division, you can pick up a form there and sign up. And of course, here in Suva at the main office at Civic Towers, here in Suva. So we're encouraging as many women who are hearing about this for the first time to visit these offices or call. The numbers are in the directory. You can call and the staff will be able to give you more details on where you can pick up a form. The registration form is very simple. We're basically just have the details. As mentioned earlier, we want to ensure that whoever's signing up is connected to a group. If they're not connected to a group, then we will connect them to an existing registered women's group, because for us, that's the monitoring and evaluation post event. And as I mentioned, that at the end of the 3 days, there's going to be some strategic follow-up to ensure that we close out all the commitments that are made across the 3 days. And of course, then we start to work on the building blocks for the event for next year. But again, Edwin, those are the details of places that women can go to be able to sign up. And again, if I may, it's not only just open to women. I mean, if there are men who are interested and would like to help out, I mean, we are open to that as well. I'm sure there's different ways we can involve men in terms of as partners in the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lucy, following on from the actual event itself, the ministry, from what I hear, will be keeping tabs on how the situation on the ground has changed, how women's lives have changed.
That's very true.
What sort of feedback would you be looking for, and what are some of the key signs that the ministry would be looking for to see whether this event has been a success and has come up with the desired outcomes?
Yeah, thank you, Edwin. As you would have heard earlier on, Inoke mentioned about the marketing. This is one area that we would like to see change in the products that women, would display over there. We understand over the years that the women are so good with their hands, but they don't have opportunities where they can sell these products. And this is an area in the office where we will be actually monitoring as to how people are going to buy these products, and then how we will build on that sustainability for these women to continue maintain the quality and the quantity. And therefore, as they do that, of course there'll be money coming in, and then the standard of living in their homes will improve, and the women themselves, their attitude towards life and their contribution will be more felt within their communities and in their families.
Sorry, I was just going to add as well that very important to the design of the 3 days is, and we mentioned this earlier, the consistency and the follow-up. What we've also will do right after the event, in fact on the last day, is do a very quick survey and an evaluation where we will get women to complete forms, or we'll do face-to-face evaluations. And all this data will then be filtered to then provide some kind of course, we'll have the event report, but in the survey and the evaluation, we will look at questions. We'll put questions in there that will allow us to see how we map out the next 3 to 4 months post-event, and then what kind of program we will need to have in place to ensure that, as I mentioned earlier, the commitments are followed through. So first and foremost, right after the event on the last day, a very quick survey, a questionnaire will be distributed. Then we will then start to monitor over the next few months post-event to see that the commitments are met, and then also to look at then if there are things that didn't work, how can we improve it? If there are things that we needed to add, what can we add in terms of the program design? It's the first one, and it's the pilot to a certain extent, because it's combining both events, what they usually have. The March and the October event into kind of one main event, and bringing that many women into one location. So the M&E, the evaluation will be very important for us as well.
Are there any key speakers or keynote addresses that we should look forward to? Anything special?
We can confirm, I guess, in terms of government representation, that the Prime Minister himself has agreed to be the chief guest at the opening ceremony. And then across the 3 days for the thematic sessions and the track events, there are going to be a series of speakers and panelists, not just from within government, but technical experts themselves, from NGOs, from the development agencies. We're also looking at potential speakers from abroad to come in and also speak. So working closely with the embassies to see if there are also key women's leaders, not just within Fiji, but outside of Fiji, Australia, New Zealand, who could possibly be very good keynote speakers across the 3 days.
And just lastly, Luce, I'd give you a quick minute just to give us your last thoughts on the event itself.
Yes, I'm talking to the listeners out there. This is a great event. It's a great national event, and we are looking forward to the participation of all our women in the rural areas, as we've mentioned. And if for those who haven't registered, please register with our women officers in our districts, as mentioned by Inoki. Do not miss this event, because there is a lot of, we know in this type of event, there'll be a last minute rush, and we do not encourage that, because it's going to be a great event. We encourage everyone to be part of it, and to be part of that, please register early, show your interest early, so that we can help us also in our organizing this event. And we are thankful that Mr. Mbani Marama is, availing himself to help us in this event. And so we believe that everything will turn out well, and we look forward to that day.
All right, time for another quick break. This is Gold FM. Speak Your Mind. We're talking about the National Women's Expo and the Rural Women's Designer Awards 2014 coming up in August. But one of the things that's been really evident is that the ministry has been very active, not just in this event itself, but in reaching out to all the communities day in, day out.
Thank you.
What are some of the changes that the ministry has noticed, and what have you been able to achieve on the ground?
Yeah, thank you, Edwin. I will just quickly go through some of the achievements for the month of June. One area really is the allowing our women to be accessing the services that are provided within the government. And one particular area here is the construction of a smokeless stove. This is an excitement achievement for us in the department because we are contributing to mitigation of the climate change and disasters in our country. And so this smokeless stove has been promoted in one of our settlements in Naitasiri last Friday. In the Nilgiri settlement in Sawani, Naitasiri, the women over there were quite enthusiastic about this project. And this is really, we've brought on board one project officer who's helping the women to construct a stove out of the, these waste cans out there. And this stove, as we call it, a smokeless stove, really is assisting the women in, we know the women go out and cut firewoods and all that, and cutting firewood is not good to, it doesn't contribute well to these disaster problems that we have. So this stove really will assist women in their house work, in cooking for the family, but at the same time, they do not have to go out and, collect firewoods every day, because it just need maybe 2-3 sticks to, fuel the stove. So this is one great achievement. And the other one I want to share with today is about on our zero tolerance violence-free community, and I'm sure the public are very much aware of this. We're able to commit 4 settlements, four informal settlements in the West have actually come forward and committed themselves, and we are thankful to the community leaders, men and women out there in these communities, in Vanuakula settlement in Lotoka, Club Court settlement in Ba, Nasomo settlement in Tavua, and Bangladesh settlement in Tavua also. This is an area that we are seeing the changes, that instead of just villages, the informal settlements are coming forward, noticing, that the high level of violence, and they too want to be involved. And this is really excited. We are excited about this. And in addition to these are the declared communities. There's 5 declared communities in our program. One of them is amongst these declared communities, Tauvenga in Ba, Vatukadeva in Ra, Nakaile in Tailevu, Dreketi in Lotoka and Seniaya. So again, as I said, we mentioned about in the expo that these community leaders are going to be coming forward. And so we are really looking forward to working together with these community leaders to continue to see that violence is eliminated from their communities, and that children, and women can live in a safe environment. And lastly, we have just opened one of our Women Resource Center in Nomotomoto in Nendi on the 14th of June. We're really grateful to the Nomotomoto village, their leaders, for assisting the women there. In my last show, I talked about the cooperation from the men, and we are so thankful that men, because we know, for these women resource centers to be built, there is land needed here. And of course, in our country, women don't own land. As of course some do, but many of our women do not own land. So for these women centers to be built, particularly in Motomoto, that shows the commitment by the leaders of that community. And so we were able to open the center there, and one of their core products there is sewing. So this is really a big achievement, and the women are beginning to come in and participate, as we mentioned before, in terms of economic empowerment. Yeah.
For a community to be declared violence-free, there are certain phases they have to go through, and there are certain workshops that are held. What are some of the focus areas in this exercise?
Okay. There's 10 phases altogether that these communities go through. And one important exercise in the beginning is really working with the police officers and in identifying which community that has been reported to have increased number of violence, and from there our officers work with the gatekeepers and also the other community stakeholders to come together and consult with them to make them realize and recognize the level of violence that's happening in the community, so that they can do something about it. And then from there, we have other phases where we then, once the community are okay with it and they realize and recognize the level of violence that's happening, and then there's other training where we take them through gender-based violence training, where the community we raise the awareness on what violence does to a family, to the children especially. Many times parents do not realize that the passive receiver over there in violence is really the children. So apart from that, we also realize that for this violence to happen, one main cause is really the economic problems that parents go through. And so, sometimes maybe dad is actually frustrated with life and take it out on the mother because she's not assisting one way or another. There are many causes of that. So we see that economic empowerment is one important assistance that needs to be done to walk them out of violence. So this is where the ministry is assisting these communities in not only raising the awareness on violence, on its side effects and all these other negative aspect of violence, but also to build their strength in terms of economic empowerment. We give them projects, we walk them through, we help them with the department actually contribute in many ways in grants that are given to these communities, where then they go into little projects to help them walk away from violence in terms of helping them economically. Yes.
Well, on that note, we come to the end of our show. Inoke and Luce, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Best of luck with the event. 6th to the 8th of August, the National Women's Expo and Rural Women's Designer Awards. Make sure you make a point to attend. This is Gold FM, Speak Your Mind. I'm Edwin Nand.